Hey, good morning, everybody. Jesse here. In today's inspection, it's a small, just over 1,000 square feet, 1980s home here in Austin. And today we're doing the home inspection and a sewer scope inspection. So we're going to be checking out this drain line between the house and the street. So join us today. Let's see what we can find and see if we see anything unique or interesting. Okay, so Brian and I have wrapped up on this inspection today, and we're going to go through some of the highlights that we've found. Overall, given the age, not too bad a shape, but there are some key issues that we're noting that we're going to convey to our client. One of the main things we're looking at with this house has to deal with the plumbing for the home, specifically the drain plumbing. So here's our main clean out here at the corner of the house. And we did a sewer scope inspection. We accessed the drain line here and we scoped the lateral line all the way from the house. I think it went out and kind of curved over to the city sewer line. That line looked good slope, no collapse of the pipe. It's PVC through, all the joints look good, no root growth, perfect. In this case, we were also able to scope from the clean out down the main line through the house. And this main line, if you can envision this house, it goes in and it goes all the way back to the back corner, which is where the primary bath is, with an offshoot to the kitchen and an offshoot to the hall bath, and of course laundry and kitchen. And that line also looks good. But as we scoped the line, looks good all through here. Once we got kind of right in here to the kitchen area, we started seeing a belly in the line. And we can't see that slope in the line, but what we can see is water standing in the line. So right about in here, all the way back to the primary bath, we had standing water in this line, up to about 1.5 inches, maybe 1.75 inches in some areas. Now this is interesting because this house also has evidence of previous movement within the foundation. There's always that chance, especially on an older house like this, that maybe the foundation wasn't poured completely level. But we took elevation measurements of this home with our zero being right here in the living room at the center of the house. And what we found was that towards the back of the house, we had approximately 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch drop here in the back corner of the primary bath. And then when we came up to the front bedroom here, at the front of the house, we had about 1/2 inch rise or elevation above our zero. So although that's not a tremendous amount of elevation change across the span from front to back, which in this house, in an elongated house, again, that might be within engineering standards. I don't know, that's kind of out of my scope. But what I do know is that the house is higher in the front and lower in the back. And that correlates with our belly here in the drain line. Now, even though we had that belly in the drain line, there was no obvious obstructions or material accumulation in the line. Everything was draining fine. So we're gonna note that. Are we gonna recommend they have this drain line excavated from underneath the slab and fixed to gain the proper slope? Not necessarily, but we wanna let them know what they have, what the potential could be down the road, and ultimately that they can consult with a qualified plumber if they need more information on that. Going back to the foundation and the slope, let me show you something else out here in the backyard. Not sure if you can really tell in this video, but this back deck is completely unlevel. There might be one portion of this deck that's level. We've got, you come up and it kind of drops down to the corner here. This portion's not level across here. This patio here, the house, which is poured independent of the house, you can see, I mean, it's settled away from the house, a good couple inches. So all this is an indicator that we likely have poor soil content here that allows for the shifting and movement if not properly maintained. We know to really pay close attention to the foundation and look for those signs of movement within the home, stress cracks, things that could indicate that this foundation may have had movement in excess of what it should have. Another thing we're going to make sure we notify our client about is with the air conditioning system. So this system here is a 2013 2.5 ton unit. So adequate size for the home. and it's about 11 years old. But interestingly, this has R22 refrigerant. You can kind of see right there. So what that means is with R22 refrigerant, it may be very expensive, if they can even get that refrigerant at all, just to repair this unit. And quite often, a simple repair means they just got to replace the system. So we want them to know that now, so they can proceed ahead, possibly budgeting for a new unit down the road. I mean, today, this unit, temperature differential was right at about 20, 21 degrees, so it's cooling. It's doing its job. There's nothing that says this has to be replaced today, but it's very likely our clients are going to have to replace it in the near future. From that, we've got a lot of the other run-of-the-mill items. We don't have tamper-resistant caps on the refrigerant lines. Our refrigerant line insulation here is gapped, so that's exposed. Our condensate line drains right against the foundation. So we'll have all that in the cooling section of the report. And a continuation of our HVAC, in addition to the items we noted at the outdoor condenser, a lot of our typical run-of-the-mill items here in the furnace closet of an 80s home. So we've got this flexible gas line that goes through the furnace case. We write that up. We do not have a sediment trap here in this gas line. It is automatically operated, thermostatically controlled, so we do need a sediment trap there. The primary line doesn't have any insulation here. It's here, but that's not really the part that sweats. This is. There's also no trap, and we have no float switch at the secondary port. So if this primary drain line gets clogged, there's nothing to shut this unit down to prevent this from overflowing. And given the evidence of moisture that we have here at these baseboards, that was probably a case at some point in the past. Moving out here to the garage, this is where our water heater is. Unfortunately, you'll see there's no drain pan under this water heater. So if this leaks, we've got a lot of problems we got to deal with now. Again, no sediment trap in this gas line. And we do test the temperature and pressure relief valves. I know that's kind of taboo in the industry. We're supposed to if we can. And when we tested this one, we noticed right at this fitting, we had a leak in the line. Let's see if we can emulate that here. Yep, there it is. So just a quick test, that tells us we've got an issue there. We got to get that addressed. Beyond that, the flue and the draft hood are not secured in place. And we've got some flue clearance issues as we go up into the attic. Another thing we tend to point out, whether it's a newer home or older home, particularly some of these older homes, when we have a water heater closet in the garage, if this door is not really a conceivably appropriate fire rated door or provide a level of protection against flame spread, we definitely write that up. And the reason is this closet, in this case, the ceiling is open to the attic. So if we have a fire in the garage, it's gonna wanna kind of burn right through this door that's not sealed well and go into the attic. It's gonna have that chimney effect that wants to draw it up. Even if we had that ceiling closed, we have these combustion air vent pipes, and we need these to let this guy operate properly. So if we're gonna have compromises in the ceiling between the garage and the attic, we need to create a new barrier, and this should be the proper barrier. So ideally, this should be a fire kind of rated door or something, maybe coat it with gypsum, 1/2-inch drywall, so that it will resist that flame spread. Oh, I don't have the covers off on these panels again here, but typical 80s panel. Ironically, it's actually very clean inside, but I almost could tell you what's wrong with these before I even open the cover. We're gonna have double neutral conductors at the bottom in the neutral bar. We're gonna have all the grounds twisted up into a single strand under one lug over here on the right. And we're gonna have 1 or 2 multi-wire circuits in here that aren't properly arranged or linked with a trip tie. And that's the case with this box here. Our main panel outside, we have some clearance issues. We got the panel here, and this large tree here. But aside from that, we have poor labeling inside, and that was really the main thing. We just don't have our circuit breakers adequately identified or marked. And then our last major system we're kind of covering in this video is with the roof. Now, I'm not up there now, and you can't see it from here, but these shingles are pretty much at the end of their life. There's a substantial amount of granule loss, and we've got a number that are damaged along the edges. We've got a couple missing tabs at the top. We've got a number of penetrations up there that are loose, have loose fasteners, so they're peeling up. We've got a handful of previous repairs and evidence of previous moisture coming in. So it's had some Band-Aid fixes. but it's at the point it's going to just need to be replaced. So that's definitely something we're going to make our client aware of before they move in, because that's not an if, it needs to be done now. So that pretty much wraps up this inspection. Our primary finds are going to be, like I said, our foundation, our drain plumbing, our roof for sure, HVAC, in that we've got some items that need to be addressed now, but we're looking at a replacement probably in the near future, or at least the next time it has a substantial repair that's needed. But overall, aside from all that, the house is in pretty decent shape, or at least what we would expect for an early 80s home. So we're going to get all this to the buyer, our buyer today. She's a first-time home buyer, so these things are going to be pretty important. This is an as-is house, so everything we're looking at, it is what it is, and I don't know what the seller will do on that. So we want to make sure our client is fully informed what she's getting, and kind of go from there. So guided inspections, let us help you discover your new home.